Good morning, everyone. And here, I don't see anybody in the chat, but I do see there's 8 people in here. Maybe my chat's not working or something. I don't know. There you are. Hello, Clog the Drain. Good Friday morning to you. It's May Day, the 1st of May. I don't know if you guys did it in school, but I can remember in school, back when I was in elementary school, May Day, the 1st of May, was always one of those days that wasn't necessarily a required school day because the entire day was recess. That was kind of cool. But I can remember that. It was the Memphis City Schools, Memphis, Tennessee. I'm not sure that other school systems ever did that, other parts of the country or whatever, but I know that we did it in Memphis and we look forward to it every year. It was May Day. This year would have been a perfect day to have May Day because it was Friday. So here we are on this 1st of May, getting ready to do a 1958 D-roll. Now, this 1958 D-roll is a Seattle Fed roll. Should be a pretty nice one. Who knows what's inside, though? We could find some beautiful RPMs. We could discover something new. Who knows what's going to come of it, right? I'm stuffing flips right now. I had myself perfectly ready to go. And I was really proud of myself that I had done everything that I needed to do to get ready for the show. And I'd printed my inserts. I'd done my research. I'd done everything that I needed to do, right? I look up about, 10 minutes ago. I'm like, okay, well, I'm just about ready to get going. Let me stack my flips up here and get ready. Oh, wait a minute. I never cut my inserts. Never cut the inserts, never stuffed them, never got them ready. I'm thinking, oh boy, here I've been sitting idle all this time. Thinking, well, I've got all this stuff ready to go. It's all done. And guess what? It wasn't. That's okay, though. We can talk for a couple of minutes before I get started. Looks like morning time shows are not something that are going to be heavily attended, right? I mean, we don't even have 10 people watching right now. Usually we have between 17 and 25 people watching, somewhere in that area. Hello, Paula. Wild Bill, Jessica, Farm Dog, Eric Beyer, Clog the Drain. Yeah, Jessica, did you catch any fish? Or was it just a nature day for you? Mint State Numismatics, hello. Well, Bill, how's the weather down there in the southern half of the Carolinas? Techstar, good morning to you. We got people showing up now. There we go. Just kind of waiting for a little bit of a crowd to show up while I'm doing the job I thought I did a half hour ago. It's windy, huh? But it's probably kind of warm. The windy part doesn't bother me. In fact, I've gone so far without a haircut at this point, and my hair is just a flying mess all the time. I feel almost like Rod Stewart. And doesn't make any difference to me now. I'll get in a car and I'll roll the windows down. Don't even play with my hair at all. I just let the wind blow in it. When I'm done, I get out and whatever I look like is what I look like. I guess I'm getting kind of like the Einstein old. It's where what you do is much more important than how you look. And so I'm kind of getting beyond the whole looks thing. I don't know much about what that's all about. I guess I'm not a kid anymore. I guess I'm not young. I've been accused of being young. I've been accused of being old. Guess what today is? Not only is it May Day, it's the 1st of May, But also it was on this very day in 1931, the Empire State Building officially opened to the public. Isn't that cool? So the Empire State Building in New York opened up on the 1st of May, 1931. Also, something numismatically related. 1931, actually, it's Lincoln cent related. It was 1943. Near this date in 1943, the composition of the steel cent was changed slightly. Went from 2.69 grams up to 2.75 grams. And if you weigh nice mint state 1943 cents, you would be able to notice a slight change in the weight and the mass between the ones made early in the year and the ones made later in the year. And it was at some point in May that change was made. New Marshall, Starbuck, Stephen Elliott. We got a bunch of people in here this morning. There we go. This is getting a lot better real quick. Not that the first 2 or 3 people in here weren't enough. I'm just saying, makes it a lot more of a party when you got more noise going on, right? I'm trying to get the back end of this roll pried open. I've got the front end done. Of course, I don't know what's front end and what's back end. Guess maybe somebody should do a study on that and find out which direction the wrapper wraps. Figure out which coin was the first in the roll and which was the last in the roll. Okay, I had to get these 2 coins back in order. Alright, coins come up over the wrapper, or wrapper goes up over the coins. Jessica, just wear an eye patch. Then you don't have to worry about what your eye looks like. Everybody be staring at the patch. Hello, sissy. Steve A. Not sure I said anything to Farm Dog this morning. Good morning, Farm Dog. Alright, I've got all my names in the bag. I've got the roll unwrapped, so we're just about ready to start boogieing here. Alright, let me get first name out of the bag here. It's Thomas. Thomas Squared. This is his first roll. He's going to get the first coin in the roll. See what we get here. You know, it's not really much of anything for an RPM. I think there might be a split in the upper serif, but it's really small. We're going to skip that one, unfortunately. Move on to other matters at hand. Get your color wheel to camo the boo-boo. There you go. Why do you have a swollen eye? It's like, yeah, you can be a pirate. You can be a pirate for a while. So what's going on with that? What's with the eye patch? A gnat bit your eyelid, made your eye swell. I guess fishing does have its dangers after all now, doesn't it? Deadliest Catch on the Mississippi River with your host, Swollen Eye Jessica Johnson. That'd be a show. Discover ought to pick you up. Just make sure that you recommend that I be the narrator. Oh, look at that. That's kind of cute. Broken die. A little bit of a broken die. That's kind of neat. We don't have anything otherwise on this particular coin. Yeah, I could just see it now. We could put Sarah somewhere else. We could put you on the Mississippi. We could put Tyler on a slough somewhere. Of course, you don't have sloughs there. On a tributary. These. I mean, this coin right here is actually a very beautiful coin. We're talking about a high quality BU near 66. So that's for Starbuck. Jeff and coin. Starbucks coin is a nice, beautiful one. Yeah, I move on to coin number 3. Eric Beyer. This one's pretty nice too. These coins are nice and bright. They're not spotty. A few little scrapes and scratches on them here and there, but they're nice, bright coins. Those little striations running across the coin, I believe, are part of the planchet wash issue. But in general, the coins are very nice, bright, evenly colored. This little planchet wash issue that causes a little bit of dullness will lower the grade by 1 point when you get above 65. 65 down, it doesn't matter. But if this was a 67 quality coin, it would probably grade a 66 simply because the luster is impeded just a little bit by that hazy fog look on the coin. Here's Bulldog. Bulldog comes up next. Oh my. Huh. I'm looking at the coins under the light before they go under the scope. That way I've got a little bit of a headway of what's going on. And this little guy right here, well, this little coin of mine, I'm going to let it shine. I tell you what, this is a really nice one. Got nothing on the obverse though. Let's take a look at the reverse. Nothing going on the reverse. Let's pull up a little bit and take a look at this coin. Let me get my little sign here moved. I got this little sign that reminds me of when all my reveals are. Kind of got in the way a little bit there. Here we go. So I moved it. Look at that. Got that one scrape behind the head. Got a few out in the field in front of the eye. But you still got yourself a 66 quality coin here. The reverse on this thing. It's just fresh. It's fresh, so fresh. That's nice. Well, if these were gold coins, they would be valuable. I don't know why I said that. Oh boy. I'm not sure where it comes from, but there's a Greek phrase that when you start talking about things that are just completely unrealistic, and it's it's like if I had known I would do this, or if my Yugo had a bigger engine, it'd be a race car. Well, one of the things that Greek people say is, if my mother had wheels, she'd be a skateboard. I don't know where it comes from, but it is true. The Greeks do say that. They dull things down just a little bit. Oh boy. Starbuck must be feeling a lot better now. He's got the jokes going. Everybody eyes up here on the screen. There's nothing to see here. A buccaneer. Oh, I didn't draw a name for that one. That was coin number 5. I don't have a name to put in it. I get one out. Well, that's going to go to Carabelle. Put it back under here real quick. One little mark in the head. Fields are nice and clean. For the most part. The reverse is very nice on this one. So that one will go to Carabelle. And then coin number 6 goes to Mr. Schwartz. Let's see what we have here. Well, so far I've not had any luck finding any RPMs. That's not a good way to start the day. I'll tell you something else that's not good. A good way to start the day. It was on this day in 1982 that the British invasion of the Falkland Islands started. The Argentinians decided that the Falkland Islands belonged to them. The British came in to show them otherwise. So we kept up the British sovereignty of the Falkland Islands in 1982, and it started on the 1st of May. Just a wealth of information, I tell you. There was another invasion on the 1st of May in 1982. That's right. It was the invasion of Knoxville, Tennessee. The World's Fair opened on the 1st of May, 1982. And through the season, the Energy World's Fair drew a massive 11 million person crowd. Of course, in today's Rona days, I don't think we'd be able to draw that kind of crowd to a World's Fair. In fact, in most states it would be illegal. I tell you what, I've looked at satellite images of the Falkland Islands, and it's a number of islands. It's a pretty decent sized country. But there can't be a total of 20,000 people there. I mean, they are very isolated. Very isolated. Basically middle of the South Atlantic Ocean. Your closest neighbor is an enemy. Argentina. Not a whole lot going on down there. The Sandwich Islands are the closest islands away, and they're glaciers, basically covered in ice. That's right, 1982 was also the last year for the copper cents, but, you know, they didn't start doing the zinc until October. And they switched over to the small dates in September, so we're still quite far away from the anniversary of that happening. Farm Dog goes next. Let's see what Farm Dog has here. Oh, come on, people. Let's find a RPM or two or something. Something interesting. Make fun of my brother for saying that. Interesting. Okay, we're going to keep a marker on this one. That die scratch coming off the 1. We're going to keep that die marker so that we can tell that we've seen this before. Hey, Coin Junkie, how you doing? And Tim Corral, I forgot to say hi to you on the way in. Lots of fun with coins. At some point, I had planned on taking uncirculated rolls of 1943 Lincoln cents and putting them on a really sensitive gram scale, weighing them out, and finding the ones that were made early in the year versus the ones that were made later in the year. Because it was roughly May 1st was the division line between the lighter, earlier 2.69 gram coins to the later, heavier 2.75 gram coins. And for some reason, let's say we got Majestic going here now. For some reason, Wikipedia and a lot of the other websites, hey, look, there's a die break right on the front of the bow tie. Yeah, Wikipedia and a lot of the other websites will list the 1943 Lincoln cent as weighing 2.8 grams. And the documentation that I have shows it going from 2.69 to 2.75 if my conversion is correct from grains to grams, which now I don't remember what that was. I wrote it down years ago. Of course, my thought was maybe, just maybe, I was right with my math and everyone else was wrong. Well, these days Argentina probably wouldn't make for a bad neighbor, but when they decide that your country is theirs, you have to do something about it. And well, the British did. So Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, 1982. So you guys like my little May 1st anecdotes? I may continue with something like this. It's kind of fun. Looking up things that happened on the day. Of course, I should probably be going to 1958 rather than 1982, but nothing happened on May 1st, 1958 that I know of. Yes, today is Ken Potter's birthday. That is correct. Another May 1st event. How many of you guys are familiar with the name Elvis Presley? Probably a few of you, right? Maybe one or two. I don't know. Elvis Presley married Priscilla on this day in 1967. May 1st, 1951 was Mickey Mantle's first, I would say probably major league home run. Sure, he probably hit a home run before that. But his first official major league home run. Who was born in 58? Ken? What's 35? That's the year Elvis was born, but he was born in January of 35. I'm trying to keep up with you, Jeff. January, I believe this, 15th? January 15th of 1935? January 8th, okay. And then he died in August of 1977. I was there when it happened. So you were born in 1935, Joe? That's right. August 17th, 1977. Baptist Central Hospital in Memphis, Tennessee. He was pronounced dead after being transported by ambulance when a housekeeper of his found him hunched over in the bathroom upstairs at about 3:30 in the afternoon. His funeral procession consisted of hundreds of cars and tens of thousands of mourners lining the streets along Elvis Presley Boulevard. And there were a number of spectators there, yours truly included. I lived in Memphis in August of 1977. Yes, I've been to Graceland. I've been to Graceland in a number of its different stages of existence. I was in Graceland while Elvis was still alive. I was in Graceland shortly after his death. And then I was in Graceland a number of years later. These things are nice coins. Mr. Mr. Schwartz gets the next coin. They are nice looking coins. We're just not finding any varieties on them. It's a little bit unusual for 1958D. 1958D, usually you're going to find some minor die varieties. But this particular case, Seattle got a roll of coins that were made exactly as intended. It wasn't really that modest a home in 1954 when it was built. It was also a plantation house outside of the city on Old Highway 51. It was a good 10 miles to the Memphis city line when the house was built. And the land around it sprawled on for a long way. Now, of course, it's all built up, and it doesn't look all that big. But you have to imagine 1954, people did not have big houses. That was a time when families of 5, 6 people lived in 2-bedroom houses. All the kids stayed in one room, the adults stayed in the other room. There weren't a lot of larger houses. We live way beyond means now. Most of the houses we live in these days are almost as big as Graceland, but most of us can't really afford what we live in. We go house poor just for the fact of being able to have a larger house. For me, I need it. I need a slightly larger place than normal because I do all my work and everything at home, so I don't have an office to go to, and I don't want one. You were watching the 64 reveal and just realized that I was live. I put up the schedule on the Facebook page for Copper Coins. You get a full schedule. Today, we've got 3. Here's Sarah Gordon. We've got 3 reveals today. We've got this one, 11 a.m. We've got a 1 p.m. 1 p.m., we've seen this die a few times. The 1 p.m. is a 1961 D roll. I certainly hope to find goodies in there. And then we will have a 3 p.m., and the 3 p.m. is going to be a special. It's 1969S. And then I'm probably going to schedule in at 6 or 7 o'clock to finish off the first pull out of the 50s bag. I did not get finished with it last night. We're on for about 3 hours. Well, hello, Chad and Joe Shelver. You must be the Chad part? Let me get you put in here as a moderator. That way we will know that you're not a bad person. Bad people don't get colored blue here. Your dad was an Elvis bodyguard by request? Your dad must have been one big dude. Here's Bulldog. Yeah, New Marshall and I have spoken with one another on the phone when I realized that he was raised up probably, no more than 30 or 40 miles away from where I was raised up. South Memphis. I lived in Raleigh, but I always went to school in Memphis. And the reason I went to school in Memphis is because that's where they had the schools for the gifted children. I had them totally fooled. Actually, the deal was, and it was something that was not as, delectable to a child, that they get split away from all of their neighbor kids that they play with every weekend and every evening. They don't go to school with any of them. They go to school with a bunch of strangers. It's because you get bussed in from across the city to go to a school for smart kids. I thought that was a curse, actually. I mean, I kind of enjoyed the schools that I went to because they were more intellectually challenging than the typical public school. But they were not... it wasn't fun having to have 2 sets of friends that don't know each other, that don't ever see each other. You know, I had a friend named Jay. I used to go to his house sometimes on the weekends and spend the night and cut up, make all kinds of trouble. But he lived 10, 15 miles away from me. My whole childhood was going across the city to do one thing or another. See, he was a police officer, huh? Let's see, back in the... Was it a Memphis City Police? Back in those days, I remember Memphis City Police ran around in Plymouths that were painted blue and had a yellow shield on the side of them. Remember those? The little whirligig lights on the top of them. Hello, Majestic. Did your dad ever do a street beat where he was a street cop? Most of them started out as street cops. And it would be be 1977, I remember. I remember those up till about 79 or 80, and that's when they started going to the black and white. Majestic. How's South Florida doing today? Hey, look at that little die chip on that one of the date. That's kind of cute. Little die chip. Ooh, and there's a die chip next to the eye, too. This is one of those dies that started failing kind of early. Big old die chip up there in the head, or what's going to be a die chip. But we don't have anything wrong with Liberty. That's strange, because that's a really weak part of the design. It's generally one of the first parts of the design to start failing. But this die had failure in other areas. Had a mind of its own. Plymouth station wagon full of SWAT stuff. Was that Plymouth station wagon blue? Because I remember the police cars being blue. I mean, I remember all of them being blue. Almost like an Air Force blue. Clog the Drain comes up next. Unfortunately, I think we've got a nice roll of coins, but we don't have any die varieties, which, that's just shocking, actually. 1958 is generally filled with die varieties. You saw me open the roll, so it's an original roll. 1958D from the Fed Reserve Bank of Seattle and Washington. Yeah. Metallic blue, medium metallic blue, like a metallic royal blue, about the same color as the Kansas City Royals. I remember those cars very well. That's just because I really enjoyed, like when I was a kid, I really liked police cars and fire trucks and stuff, and airplanes and anything shiny. I guess that's why I ended up a numismatist, but yeah, the police cars enthralled me back then. So I liked seeing there were different models. They had some from like 75 and then some from like 77. And so they had a slightly different appearance in the cars. And that was where I really first started kind of noticing, hey, not all cars are the same. Had a few different incidents in our area, in our neighborhood, that brought the police cars once in a while. But a lot of times when you saw police cars, they were doing community outreach. They were just there to say hi and let you know that they're not the bad guy. They're there to catch the bad guys. And then when the good guys became bad guys, then suddenly the police were not good. And so good turned to bad and bad turned to good. Randy's up next. But it was the only place I ever lived that had blue police cars. Just bright blue police cars. It was many, many years before the TV show NYPD Blue came out. Chicago didn't have blue cars at the time, I don't think. They did later. So it was just a very unusual thing to be in a place where police cars were blue. Then they went to the black and white. When they went to the black and white, they went to strobes on the top of the cars, and those things give me seizures. I don't like those. Real bright blue strobe lights, that's a really good way to get me to pass out. They ought to do a different color, because blue light messes with my head. It's like when I'm driving through a neighborhood around Christmas time and, Oh, hey, look, there's an RPM. How about that? Double split serif RPM that we're going to have to look up. This one is going to be a listable one. So let's grab a marker off of it so we can try to capture others of its kind. Put them all in the same place. Hey, look, there's a nice little die scratch coming straight up off the forehead. That's going almost exactly straight up off the forehead. Okay, so we can use that. Die scratch straight up off the forehead. The D is relatively close to the date. I think that thing on there is just a little fleck of metal. I don't think it's actually an indentation in the mint mark. In fact, if I just brush across it very lightly, one-time swipe with a Q-tip, it took it right off. That was just a little fleck of metal. I left myself a strand of Q on his jacket or coat, whatever you want to call it. Wild Builder wasn't necessarily a change from red to blue lights. Some places still have red lights. Some states, they still have red and blue lights, a mixture of red and blue. And then a lot of them just have blue lights. I can remember all the way back, as far as I can go, the mid-70s, with the little twisty lights, the ones that just went around and around. They were, they had a blue cover on them. That's coin number 24. We're almost halfway through the roll here, and we've got our first RPM, Joe McBride. Yeah, Adam 12, the LAPD, they had, but their lights were just flashers. That's all. They just had flashers on the top of the car. They didn't even turn around. And yes, those were red, but not everybody had red lights on their cars. Like, let's see, I think Oklahoma had red in most of their state cars. But I believe the Memphis City Police and the Tennessee State Patrol, State Troopers of Tennessee, I believe they all had blue lights, as far back as I can remember. There are state laws about that, about the colors of lights on emergency vehicles. Because I know that in some places, fire trucks had red lights. In other places, fire trucks had white lights. And then usually wrecker trucks all have yellow lights. And then police and fire can have red, and then police would have blue. I don't know. I think it just depends on the department. Depends on the department and the state. Because we've seen this one plenty of times. There are a number of different jurisdictions that have particular colors that they use by law on the tops of emergency vehicles. So, I don't know. I'm not a fervent expert on the subject. It's Andrew O'Neill. Yeah, I wish I had better luck with this roll for you guys. I'm serious. I love a good roll. Something that gives us a reason to talk, right? Speaking of talking, anybody know who the Navajo Code Talkers were? Hey, look at that little die crack right there. The Navajo Code Talkers were a group of Navajo tribesmen who were hired by or recruited by the United States Army to do message sending by radio during World War II. And they did it in their native language, Navajo, which is basically unrelated to any modern language, so that when the Navajo speak Navajo, there's not really any easy way to translate it to German or any other language, because it was not well published. So the Navajo code talkers were a very important part of how the Allied won the war. And they were recruited by the United States Army to do their job on this day in 1941. And now you know the rest of the story. I shouldn't have done that, because that's probably something that's copyrighted and I'll get pounced on for it, but still, I enjoy it. Oh my gosh, we're not finding anything in this roll. I had not planned on starting my Friday this way. I wanted to start my Friday by finding all kinds of really neat stuff for people. I like being Santa every day. You know, speaking of the color of lights, your red lights and your blue lights, you remember who did the blue light special, right? And they'd come over the intercom, and they would say something like, "Attention Kmart shoppers, we have a special in the ladies' wear department right now. Look for the blue light in the back of the store." That's right. It was Kmart. The blue flashing light. Did you guys know that the very first Kmart store was in Garden City, Michigan? And it opened on this day in 1962? Yeah, they had to use the blue light because the red one had its own district. There you go. Now, actually, Target had the red light special, so Kmart had to go with the blue light. I don't know. I remember Icy at the Kmart store. It was the only place you could get an Icy. It's in the front of the Kmart store. Little polar bear they had on their red and blue striped cups. It was always interesting going in and seeing the Icy machine. I don't think I ever got an Icy. I don't think my mother ever bought one for me. She was a little more worried about whether or not we had enough money for underwear. I was worried about my Icy. I wanted an Icy. I don't remember ever having one. By the time I was old enough to take my own 25 cents down to the store and buy something, it was a 7-Eleven and I was getting Slurpees. Same thing, different name. Yeah. 1962. It's around the same time that Sam Walton opened the first Walmart in Arkansas. I think that was in 1962. Bentonville, Arkansas. All this useless information and no place to go with it. I could have been a contender. Alas, I'm on YouTube. That's why this show took an extra 10 minutes to get started. Because I spent that time stuffing flips, where the time that I should have been stuffing flips, I was looking at pictures of Garden City, Michigan. Mike Birchman comes up next, coin number 32. And I swear I've been tested. I don't have ADD or ADHD. Nope. My kind of affliction is called autism. Oh, we've done that before. We've seen this. I do have a rather mild case of ASD. But sometimes your mildest cases are the ones that draw the biggest curse. You know, because if I was like not speaking and wearing a helmet and doing obvious, odd and strange things, everyone would expect that whatever action I did should be expected. But because I have a very mild case, anytime I act strangely or weirdly or say something totally inappropriate or wrong, I'm suddenly rude, or I'm lewd, or something like that. And there's Sarah Gordon again. So I basically get the evil eye or the sideways look because I'm not obviously autistic. You have to get to know me to really understand that I am. And even at that, it's rather mild. So there's a lot of places, a lot of times that you would expect to see something or hear something out of an autistic person that even I don't do. But then there's other times when you would think that I would be a perfect natural at doing this, that, or the other, or being able to deal with people or people's emotions or crowds or other things like that. Innuendos that I simply don't get. Just can't do it. I try. You know, I mean, you can be a non-athlete and eventually be able to hit a baseball. All you have to do is practice, right? Enough practice, you'd be able to hit a baseball. You can't practice a disability away. Whether it be a mental or a physical disability, you cannot practice them away. You can't make them go away. I found that out with, like, color blindness. Color blindness, would have to have special glasses to be able to see color. I just don't. Never have. So, I have never seen red like you do. Most of you, anyway. I've never been able to distinguish purple from blue. I've never been able to really distinguish most reds from greens, which is pretty normal. But mine extends way beyond red and green. In fact, when I was tested on my way into the United States Air Force back in 1986, they gave me one of those little color dot tests, and there were 14 cards, and a guy flipped through the book, and you're supposed to be able to tell him what number was in those dots. There's a name for that test, and I can't remember what it was called, but he went flipping through the book, and I went telling him numbers, basically just guessing. And we ended that little part. He took my sheet, and he wrote 13 out of 14 on there. I said, well, I did pretty good, didn't I? And he says, no, that's how many you missed. I said, well, I guess I'm pretty colorblind then, huh? He said, yeah, you're pretty colorblind. Next. So, yeah, that was interesting. Now, when I got to my duty station in Oklahoma, this was, I'd been in the Air Force for 5 or 6 years at that point. When I got to my duty station in Oklahoma, I had to get a special license to drive out on the flight line and to actually be driving in and around air traffic. Well, that's a new way to look. You stop at a stop sign, you have to look left and right. When you stop at this stop sign, you have to look left, right, and up. But to drive out on the flight line required a special license. And special license, part of the testing for the special license was to be able to see, hey, there's another one of those RPMs. Is it the same one? No. It does not appear to be the same one because we had that die scratch on the one. I don't see it there. So I'm going to put this next to the other one. I'm going to call this a die 2. We're 36 coins into the roll before we see our second RPM. See you later, Carabelle. You have a great day. So we're going to move this one off next to the other coin. This one's Shannon McCord's coin. And I'll be looking those up later. Now we got Clog the Drain. Clog the Drain will be next. Not finding much of anything. But anyhow, when they took me out on the flight line to do my driver's test, I had a part that was there was a written test about what you do in what cases, what happens when. But then you have to go out and you had to look up at the tower. And they had a series of lights that they would shine at you on the tower. It was 2 lights. It would either be red, it would be green, or it'd be white. So your red, your green, your white lights. So you had 2 white lights, it was good to go. You had 2 red lights, you had to stop, not move from your current position. And they would shine those lights at you to tell you, hey, we don't want you getting out there and your engine cutting out on you and you've got a 20-ton plane headed towards you at 300 miles an hour. So they drove me out there. I looked up at the tower and he says, okay, give him number 1, because they had a list. Give him number 1 on the list. And so I see a couple of lights shine at me and I say, was that green and white? Then he'd get on the radio and he'd say, shine him a little bit more over to the right, over in our direction. Okay. I must have gotten that wrong. Let's see. How about white and green? There you go. Okay, shine number 2 down on us. So that's how I passed my flight line test. I would guess, and if I was wrong, he would make sure that I had a hint to get it right. I know that's probably not the most proper way to help someone get a test that they shouldn't, for a license they shouldn't have because they can't see color. But that was that's how it worked. Oddly enough, I drove on the flight line for about 6 years with no incident. Sarah Gordon again. There's a really nice 1958 D Lincoln Sense here. These things have a lot of luster. There's a lot of them from the same die, though. That die that basically exploded on us up here around the W. I've seen that one a bunch of times. We don't really have anything going on the reverse on those, but just for the sake of knowledge, I do look at every coin on the obverse and reverse because there is a chance that there could be a struck through lamination peel or other things on the reverse that are not related to the design on the die itself. So we're up to coin number 40 now. Coin number 40 goes to Steve A. Oh, we got ourselves another RPM. Yes, sir, yes, sir. There's another RPM right there. Double split serif, upper and lower. And we don't have our mark on the 1. So this is probably a die 2, but I will be checking these over closely again. See, there's die scratches on the coat that I can use. So I will for sure be identifying these later on. I gotta get finished with this damn 49S roll first. I thoroughly enjoy going through these rolls and finding die varieties and identifying them and stuff, but it just takes so much time. Coin number 41 is John Brandon Bow. Next week is going to be an off week, though. I'm not doing an auction on Tuesday. We will have Jessica's auction come up on Sunday. There's another one of those. Just about every coin in the roll lately has been one of those. So there will be an auction on Sunday. I may come on Tuesday just to announce and sell a few reveals. I'll let you guys know about that. I may or may not be doing reveals next week. I need some time to catch up. You know, reveals kind of take away from that time. Not that I don't enjoy doing them, it's just the realistic matter of everything. Yeah, that 49S is holding up your bullseye. I promise I'll get everything done today. The 49S's will be finished today. I'll have all the reveals all finished up and ready to go today. And I will call for a pickup tomorrow. And there should be a mail pickup tomorrow. I carry most of this stuff away. Got to get the office cleaned out for the next auction that'll be coming up. Not this coming Tuesday, but the following Tuesday. I think that would be the 12th of May. I do believe it's the 12th. That was my parents' wedding anniversary, believe it or not. 12th of May. Okay, Hawkeye is next. And we don't have an RPM here either. Nothing on the obverse. Nothing on the reverse there either. So we move on to coin number 44. Let me get Hawkeye's name in here real quick. Move on to coin number 44. Coin number 44 will now go to John Brandon Bow. Let's see what we get out of here. That'd be just another 1958D. This is another one of those, isn't it? Not that, but it's got this. It's either this or the one with the big old die crack next to the W. Seems to make up more than half of what we're doing here. Just those two dies, and there's nothing on them for die varieties. No double die, no repunchment mark. So it makes them interesting enough, but for what they are, they don't have very much interest factor in the market. Because as a type, they're rather common. But the individual dies can be kind of scarce. We found that out by going through and listing buy coins, BIE, the die breaks that happen in Liberty. Start listing those things by the die and showing the progression of them. Man, a full set's like really, really, really challenging to collect. And don't sell for a whole lot of money either. Most of your buy die breaks can be had for a few dollars a piece. Kind of like RPMs for the most part. Double dies tend to have a little bit more value than RPMs, and that's mainly because there are more RPMs than there are double dies, and finding RPMs is more likely. That's for Starbucks. Next one coming up here is for Shannon. You guys are going to like the quality of these coins. These coins are actually very nice coins. Up under this scope, they look kind of average. But you back off of them. You look at them with the naked eye. You look at them with a small loop. And they're impressive coins. They're pretty nice. Randy, I do believe you might have been in this roll. In fact, I'm pretty sure you were. You don't have any die varieties in this one, but I think your name, your name is in this roll. I think you had 3 spots in this roll. Here's Bulldog, coin number 47. And coin number 47 is, it's another normal coin. Let's see what we get. Not much. Nice coin. All right, here's number 48. 48 goes to Joe McBride. Joe McBride's coin looks like this. Oh, hey, look at that nice little die crack. That's kind of cool. A little die crack from the bottom of the 9 across to the D. Another little depression or a little die crack over there on the top of the 1. And let's see what else we have here. Got a die crack in the hair. And a normal Liberty. A lot of markers for something. Oh, look at that. That's sweet. This little die crack right there, die chip right there on the edge of the design. All right, nothing else on the reverse of this one, so 1948, coin number 48, 1958. Be in and out in a bit of history here. So I'm going through all this history and I can't get the date right of the coin. Mike Birchman. Mike Birchman gets coin number 49 here. And coin number 49 is... would appear that it's normal. It's a little die gouge coming from the G to the O. Those little tiny things like that can be good markers. That's how I noticed that kind of stuff. It's a very detail-driven hobby, where you see little things and you have to have pretty good memory. You have to be able to look at details and kind of get a clue on details. It's like, for instance, John Wexler lists over 40 different 1949 S RPMs. You go through his listings, scrolling up and down on a single sheet long enough, you're going to start memorizing some of those pictures and you're going to start memorizing some of those dies. And that's what happened to me as I was going through all this stuff trying to figure out what was what. I would this is the last coin in the roll right here. That's why it's spotty. It was facing out. I'd start remembering You know, well, die number 32 has this and this, and die number 33 has a mint mark that's really close and stuff like that. Then it starts to dawn on you after you repeat the stuff to yourself a couple of times. You'll really get the hang of it. Well, speaking of getting the hang of it, I think I need to go until I get it right. I did not get the hang of anything with this roll because it appears as though we ended up with 48 normal coins and 2 die varieties, which I'll have to go back through the roll again to see if I can find any others like them. But so far, this is what we've got. We have 1 double split serif RPM, coin number 24, going to Joe McBride. And we have another double split serif RPM, which is a different die, going to Shannon McCord. And I do know that, no, we had 47 normal coins. So now I got to go back through and find the other RPM that I forgot to put on the RPM stack. But there is a third RPM that I need to go back and look for. But that's that. I got 47 normal coins and the rest of this. The most valuable RPM I know of, probably going to be a high grade 1909 SV, the 1909 S RPM number 1. Yeah, it might have been yours, Randy. Are you somewhat normal? Can you tell me what I have? Hard for you to watch them work. Okay. There is going to be an RPM, at least one RPM in here that I did not pull out. So I at this point don't remember which one it was, but a rewatch of the broadcast would show me. Let me see how many coins I got in here for you, Majestic. I do believe I had 3. 2 or 3. There's one. A nice 65 to 66 looking coin. Then let's see. There's another Majestic. This one's a decent 65. That's 2. And you too, Jessica, you have a great day. Go fishing. Go have fun. I got a show coming up in 45 minutes. Be doing one at 1 o'clock. Here's a Majestic coin. This one's a pretty easy 66. It's a really nice, superb gem. So yeah, Majestic, you had your 3 coins. You got one that was a really nice one that was very nice, and then a third one that was, it was nice. So, attitude shows everything, right? So here's the couple that we had that were RPMs for sure. I'll go back through and I'll look for the others that were RPMs. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and take a break and get some more coffee in me and go down and get some lunch. Come back and be ready for the 1961D reveal in 45 minutes. So you guys have a great afternoon.